Be honest. How many times have you sat in this exact spot and said to yourself, tomorrow, tomorrow I'm going to start that thing. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start that business. I'm going to finally clean out the garage. And then you don't do it. And it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're lacking in discipline. It's because there's this little voice whispering in your ear, why bother? You've tried this before. We both know how this ends. And so you don't. Most people think that the bridge between where they are and where they want to be is willpower. And willpower is an okay way to get places some of the time, but it's finite and it tends to run out by the afternoon. So what I'm going to offer you today instead is backed by decades of psychology, and it's called self-efficacy. If you don't have self-efficacy, you are going to be stuck. So today we're going to talk about how to build self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is different from self-esteem. So self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. Self-efficacy is your belief in your ability to execute a task. So if I ask you if you can drive a car, you don't just hope you can drive a car. Yeah, maybe I can do it. No, if you've driven a car before, you have a history of that, you know you can drive a car. You have high self-efficacy. So if I ask you if you can start a business, if you haven't started a business before, you're not going to have high self-efficacy with regard to starting a business. It's the difference between saying, I want to be a writer, and saying, I know I can sit down and write a chapter today. So this concept of self-efficacy comes from a psychologist called Albert Bandura, and he's got 4 pillars on ways to build self-efficacy, and we're going to take a look at them today so you can start using them. Okay, number 1 is what we call mastery experiences. So mastery experiences are basically evidence that you've done it before. Like the car example, if you've driven a car before, you can do it again. You have plenty of personal lived evidence that you can do that task. If I want to learn to do a backflip, I'm not going to just go for it. I'm going to do my research, find out what are the baby steps to get me there, and then I'm going to execute each of these baby steps and prove to myself with each step that I can do that thing. And that's how we build the self-efficacy. So it's through experience, breaking things down into manageable chunks and then completing that task. Number 2 is vicarious modeling. So if you see someone who you in your brain measure as being kind of like of similar abilities, maybe similar background, similar age, similar experience, and they can do that thing, that is going to give you confidence to attempt to do that thing as well. This is why maybe going to a class can make you unlock new skills, right? Like you go to a pole dance class or something, and something that you thought was like scary that you would never try at home, you see one of your classmates doing it and you're like, oh, okay, cool, they can do it, so I can try as well. It gives you kind of permission to do it. It unlocks the possible. Okay, number 3 is social persuasion. So who do you surround yourself with, and what are the kinds of messages that they give to you? Are you surrounded by people who tell you like, yeah, you can do this, no worries, you got it, go on, you did great in that other thing, you can definitely do this, I believe in you? Or do you surround yourself with people who are maybe like, oh, I don't know about that, it seems a bit risky? These things will influence your social efficacy. And it's actually not just the voices that come from without, though they are important, but also the voices within, right? If you've got an internal monologue telling you, oh, I don't know about that, that seems pretty stretch, I don't think we can do that, that's diminishing your self-efficacy. And this one is a little nuanced as well, right? So in terms of external voices, the people who you surround yourself with, it also depends on what your assessment of their ability to make a judgment on this situation is. So for example, encouragement from a mentor who has experience in this arena will be much more valuable for your self-efficacy than, say, encouragement from your mom who knows nothing about it and isn't really part of that sphere. And it's also ties back to your internal voices too, because if you are just like, you know that you're just kind of lying to yourself, like, yeah, you can do it, but you don't actually believe it, that's not going to work for self-efficacy. So this ties back to number one, where you start doing small little things to give yourself evidence, so that that internal voice says, I have evidence and I've seen you put together the pieces, so I know that you can probably do this other thing. Okay, pillar 4 is your emotional and physical states. And this one gets tied back into the previous one as well, because it's not just about how you feel, but then it's about the story that you tell yourself about what those feelings mean. So pillar 4 is really the raw data. Let's look at an example to make this clear. If you are a rock climber, right? You're going up a rock climb and you feel like your forearms are pumped, they're tired, your breath is starting to come a little bit faster. And the story that you tell yourself about that information is, oh my God, I'm tired. Oh my God, I'm going to fall. Oh my God, I'm going to die. You're probably not going to succeed in continuing that rock climb, right? But if you are a more experienced climber and you feel that like kind of rising heart rate, you feel the same burn in your forearms, but the story that you tell yourself is, okay, this is hard, this is limit, but I've done this before and I know that I can do this, then you've got a much better chance of succeeding. You have a much higher rate of self-efficacy. And if you're someone who's not into sports and you're like, Emma, why are all of these examples sports-based? Yes, that's how I learned how to do these things, is through sports, and then I translated them to the rest of my life. But if that's not for you, that's fine. This can translate to other things as well. If you are going to give a presentation at work, right? Or you're speaking in a foreign language and you feel this like rising kind of maybe like a tightness in your chest, or like your heart's beating a little bit faster, and you tell yourself like, oh my God, I'm panicking, I'm going to blow it. You're much more likely to freeze, right? When you step on stage to give that presentation. But if you feel that kind of increasing heart rate and that general sense of kind of activation, and you tell yourself, okay, cool, this is fine, this is good, I'm alert, I know that this is my body turning on to perform, to present, then you're much more likely to be able to breathe through it and to keep moving. So your body is providing the sensation, the raw data, but then it's really up to your mind and your interpretation what you actually do with that. And that's actually an interesting point. And I would invite you to just start noticing what your bodily sensations are telling you, because you might find that through that practice, a lot of the time, the bodily sensations are kind of similar, and it's up to your context and your experience in your brain to interpret those. So if you know that maybe anxiety actually could feel like hunger depending on the circumstances, and maybe it even could feel like grief. So the bodily sensations could remain the same, and then it's really up to you how you interpret them, which actually gives you a lot of power in terms of reframing and spinning something to your advantage. So changing your life doesn't have to be about this sudden explosion of motivation and just or discipline and really kind of hammering yourself. It actually can be about showing yourself through small actions that you are the kind of person that can affect these changes. So I would invite you to think about what it is that you're trying to change and figure out, what is the smallest version of this that I can do to prove to myself that I'm the kind of person that can do this. And I would love to hear what it is that you're trying to change in your life. Let me know in the comments. And if you've tried to change before and it didn't work, you may have inadvertently gotten yourself into this kind of negative feedback loop where you've shown yourself evidence that you don't know how to do these things, right? You may have like tried to choose something too big to begin with and it didn't work out. And then now your self-talk is that, oh, I can't do that thing. I actually didn't succeed at that, so we shouldn't try again. So if that's you and you're looking for some assistance on your journey, I would be delighted to walk with you along that path. Take a look in the show notes and I'll put it in the comments as well. I offer a free consultation for 60 minutes. So if that's something that you would like to talk through, get some kind of guidance around, get some clarity, definitely take me up on that offer. I'd be happy to help.